Hi, it's Hazel. Welcome to my channel. I believe that this is day 18 of the 100-day challenge. Now this probably looks like a hot mess to you, but let me explain the rationale for this video. If you've been watching any of my videos lately, you probably have heard me talk about making the move or rearranging some of the furniture, the fixtures in my office/studio. And I am also very lucky in that I have had studio space in the basement. So as I've been getting ready to move this 8-drawer dresser up and the table down, blah, 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 I've noticed some of the things that I had in that basement space that I've obviously worked on or used or collected or whatever before I got into this junk journal thing. So because I think most creatives are very reluctant to throw anything away because we always see possibilities, I gathered up a few of these items, and I feel that until I do a video, I can't put them away up here or take them to the next step until I've shown them to you or talked about them. So as dumb as this might look at first blush, bear with me. So basically what I did before junk journaling was paint, acrylic, watercolor, that sort of thing. So we know that quite often we want to protect, especially if we're working, well, whether we're working in a book, which I wouldn't have been because I didn't know about that at the time, but we also want to protect the area around where we're working. So believe it or not, and this is just part of the pile, these are things that I clearly worked on or used as protective substances, for lack of a better word, that I thought now I'm looking at with a new eye. So, well, let's just lay that against there. Can you see that texture? And this is just the cellophane wrapper from some serviettes or napkins or whatever you want to call them. So I'm assuming that this is either white paint or gesso. And I don't know why it has that little cross, almost like a tweedy type texture to it. But whether it's gesso or white paint, that is still lovely to use as collage fodder. Now, the trick will be getting it to stick down, but if we're able to glue vellum down or acetate or whatever, I can't see that being a problem. So, now that I've gone on and on about that, let me just show you some of the other pieces and then move on. Cool. Now that looks like it might have been created with a sponge. Some of these might, obviously, probably wouldn't want the text, but again, more lovely designs that I couldn't probably recreate if I tried to, at this point, because frankly, I don't know how I did it. But I feel like it's a happy accident that I didn't throw them away. So, you've seen enough of that. Okay, so this, it appears that now which side has the paint on it? It appears that I had this, or a couple of these, around something that I was painting. So you can see the quinacridone violet and the gray that I used. And this is just like cellophane. So again, the possibilities I think are there to use, to rip this up and use it in some way. I don't know how yet, but I'm just showing you so that if you, just to sort of help us remind each other that we should be looking at everything through fresh new eyes. Now this is wax paper. I don't know why it is so creased and crinkled and whatever, but I'll tell you, it is so soft. I'm just wondering, just for the heck of it, let's see. This is my blue brush, and I did not, rub it against an ink pad because it's not right here. But look at, even a dry brush with just residue of ink color in it very quickly changes the look of this. And all those fine lines and creases become, well, obviously more obvious, but yeah. This looks like wax paper. Wax paper. Now this is, I would say this is wax paper as well. How and why were these marks made? I have no recollection whatsoever. But imagine that becoming the background on a collage of some sort. Show you a few more and then I'll move on to something else. Torn edge. This one is just really thick with paint and or gesso, I'm not sure which. Again, quinacridone violet. Now that is a golden color, and if you know anything about some of the pigments in that line of paint, it's very expensive. So am I glad that I kept this? Am I glad that it's a color that I love? Kind of an aubergine, eggplant sort of color? Yes, because there are possibilities here. And it makes me think that it's time that I pull out my art journal again and begin doing a couple more videos in that book, because I'm committed to doing this 100-day challenge or project or whatever. I have neglected some of these other things that I've been working on, like the Celebration of Women journals and the art journal. And I think I'm going to make that my mission to use some of this garbage, basically, to play with in my art journals. So you heard it here first. I don't like this yellow, but hey. This has possibilities as well. Look at this one. It's almost, you can almost not even tell that it was translucent at one point. I would say that this is quinacridone gold or quinacridone azo nickel. Is that the, it's been a long time since I looked at that stuff, so I might be wrong about that one. That could be that azo. Again, it feels good. It crinkles. I think, okay, some of this would peel off. So I guess the challenge here would be to maybe rough it up a bit and like any peeling paint, get rid of it before you paint your fence again. Or seal it with matte medium. This is a thick blob of paint there. Okay, that's those kind of papers. Now, this is probably kind of wasteful, based on my new thinking. but it always used, I mean, the sort of the typical thing that people used back in the day, or maybe it was, no, let me not say that. Maybe it was me feeling like I had to buy something, buy a certain thing. Sometimes I think we do that to legitimize ourselves as artistes or, craftsmen or artisans or whatever. This is palette paper. So it's basically greasy on one, not greasy. It's slick on one side, and rather than like the thumb hole on a wooden palette that oil painters use, this is where a person would be mixing colors or whatever. Now this will probably, if I worked at it, it would probably peel off, and yeah, it's acrylic paint is like plastic. So if I wanted to, I could glue this down to something. And it's another element, another, splash of color, whatever. So obviously and once it dries on here, I was going to say a person could put color over color, but that probably wouldn't be very wise, because then you're not sure what it is that you're actually seeing. So anyway, I have some of these palette papers. Oh. This is something where I obviously put some paint on the palette and then use some sort of a tool to do some art making. Again, this could easily be ripped up and become collage fodder. And for my next trick, I'm going to tear paper. Apparently little pieces of a palette are legit too. This one obviously has more life in it. Then there's this. And this is what the pad looks like. I don't have many more sheets, but as I was flipping through this, look at what this back one looks like. Number one, it's so old that it's coming apart. I don't know if you can see that. But this looks like this side is like perfect. It's like paper. Now, this might need to be scuffed up a bit with some sanding block or something, but we work hard to get this sort of a patina type look, an aged or distressed look. So anyway, enough about that. You get the picture. I have about 3 more things to show you, and then you will be free as a bird. Okay, one of the things I learned when I was taking art classes is, and I don't know if this is still sort of what people do, back in the day, we were told that a roll of toilet paper, and you can see where there was an indentation where there would have been an elastic holding this together, was the perfect thing to have on your table to blot your brushes on. So with watercolor, thought I had a brush nearby, but apparently, this one. This is pretty tiny, but anyway, pretend that this was what I was using. So of course, when you want to clean your brush, or get some of the water off or clean, or you're about to dip into a new color, you just dab on here. This is ultra absorbent. And then as, if it gets gross or whatever, or maybe stops being as absorbent as you want it to be, you just rip off a layer and keep going. So that is can I get that back on without wrecking the bristles? Maybe not. Oh, forget that trick. So that is a cheap and simple way to, like, you can get probably years out of this. Obviously, I also at one point was using paper towels to do some blotting up or dabbing. Now again, this is probably 2-ply. I could easily keep adding color, or maybe that is the perfect color for a project that a person has in mind, or maybe rather than throwing it out now at this point, maybe I just decide that, hey, I like that color, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to use this textural background that now has some color as a basis for some sort of collage or decoration, or a base, a layer on some card, journaling card, pocket, whatever. And then finally, with acrylic paint, this toilet paper would not obviously be the thing to use, but fabric. So, of course, again, long before I knew anything about junk journals, I ripped up a bunch of, cotton, polycotton, whatever this is, to have a bunch of paint rags in my studio. And if you use kind of a cloth exclusively for a certain project, then the colors are going to work together. But this, I gotta measure something, you know it. So this is 10 and 3/4, say, by about 9. Could this not be ripped, in half, or even just folded in half as a journal cover? Obviously would want to probably do something else to it, like maybe knock some of it back or blend it a bit using some gesso. Use some ink splatters. Like, the possibilities are truly endless. Or use it sort of cut it into strips. Now, albeit this piece is not very long, I have others that are bigger, to sew this is fabric, not paper, fabric ruffles, to rip a piece off and use it as part of a fabric flip, or again, just a layer, or for snippets or whatever. So this one is bigger. So, if a person ripped this lengthwise, there would be, it would give a decent sized ruffle. Now these are kind of bizarro colors, so I guess because it was big, I must have had quite a few different, had used several colors. I don't care for it as it is, but again, isolate certain areas or keep adding to it. And because this doesn't feel very crunchy, I suspect that at some point I laundered them. So that, of course, is another way to get it nice and soft. Let's see what else I've got. Now this one is cool. I can see possibilities here. And each side, tends to be different. So a person would naturally pick their favorite side or whatever. So this is fairly, a lot of white space. The other side, I must have been stamping something because there's a regularity to the design. It's not just, wiping off a brush after you've tried to get the pigment out of it. This could that not be a page in a grungy journal? This one I like, again, because the colors are more, they seem to belong together. Now the paint is thick here. Doesn't look like it wants to come off though, so that's a good thing. And again, if it did, so what? Oh, you can see that I did some stamping on there. Or maybe I was stenciling something and this was underneath protecting it. I honestly don't remember at this point, but and this one must have, this had to be blue to begin with. And then, of course, these colors just added to it. And some of the areas, like, are really quite cool. They look, it looks like actual mark making of some sort. Anyway, that is all I wanted to tell you about this. That, maybe instead of, and I know people use dry out their baby wipes and use them sometimes in collage. But, there is something to be said for just taking some of those fabric pieces that we all have and letting that become our cleanup, our go-to for cleanup. I should separate these into the ones that I like the most. And what was I trying to say? Minimize maybe some of the disposable nature of using wipes and that sort of thing, and just, create your own artistically, uniquely, beautifully, our own stuff. This one has possibilities as well, as does this one. Anyway, I will stop there. This is a fairly short video, so maybe I'll take the time to do the old commercial. I am so grateful to those of you who have chosen to subscribe. It's so encouraging. It's so, it's kind of an affirmation that maybe what I have to say or show has value and is resonating with some people. So that clearly is encouragement to keep on going. So thank you for those of you who have chosen to subscribe. I also wanted to say that okay, by now you would have seen the video, well, probably 2 or 3 videos I did on making your own stamps. There was feedback about those and some advice. They're on the Temu haul, like did a little product testing on my Temu order, Temu, and people obviously saw that I struggled with some of the dies and offered advice, and like one woman referred to herself as sorry about the book, meaning, her comment was so long. But to me, that warmed my heart, because she was clearly trying to convey some information that I needed to hear, that I didn't know about. And it to me, it just shows that she cared, and she wasn't alone in that. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, I hope I'm giving you something, but by the same token, you're giving me something. And I think that's how, ideally, this is how it's supposed to work. It should be win-win. It should be, everyone should be getting something out of this, even if it's just, a half-hour distraction. Anyway, I will stop talking and let you go. Goodness knows I've got more videos to make. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.